Well, we are live and we are recording. This is a special Thanksgiving episode of our Las Vegas Triathlon Club Spotlight, and we've got a special guest for this special episode who I think this is going to be a really eye opener in terms of Thanksgiving. And we've got Terri
Buryanov.
Buryanov.
Buryanov. I'm sorry, I have a hard time with last names, especially.
Yeah.
We got Terri B. And this is so great that Terri is going to be our guest for this episode. Terri is, and I'm not going to steal too much of Bob's content for the introduction, but she is an elite endurance athlete, and she's had a really tragic crash with a car hitting her, and we're going to hear more about that. But I know, in talking with her, and my wife has visited her as well, just the message of positivity and how she recovered is really inspiring. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this tonight and having her share her story with everyone, because it is a story of Thanksgiving and very inspiring. But I'll go ahead and turn the microphone over to Bob for the official introduction.
All right. Thank you so much, John. And thank you again, Terri. It's so wonderful to have you on, especially tonight. You know, there are so many people, including yourself and John and I and everybody in the club and everybody in the cycling community, have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for being on. And as an introduction to the folks who don't know Terri, Terri is actually an elite cyclist doing 200-mile solo rides, ultra endurance events. She's an accomplished triathlete. But that's not what this is about tonight. That's actually irrelevant to what it is we're going to talk about. On June 25th, she had a terrible accident, and we are lucky to have her with us.
Yep.
So, just to get started, Terri, if you would take us back to June 25th. Tell us what happened, and for especially for the people who don't know all the details. But thank you again. Thanks for doing this for us. And it's just amazing. One more thing. The accident was June 20th. That wasn't an accident. The crash was June 25th. And less than 6 months later, you were with us, and you had a very bad accident, a very bad injury. So go ahead and tell us what happened, and talk us through the actual incident and your recovery to get started.
Okay, yeah. So it was like any other Sunday morning when I went out to join the Lifetime ride. We had all finished, a group of my friends and I stopped for the coffee at the Coffee Bean, and then we were all done. So I started going home by myself, and I was going north on Pecos. And right at Wigwam, I had a green light, and a Chevy Tahoe didn't give me the right of way. So I was going straight through the green light, and he was turning left in a blinking yellow. So I didn't have time to stop, and I crashed into him, I guess. I fractured my C2 vertebrae in 2 spots, which was pretty bad. My C1 vertebrae also was fractured, and I broke my face. So I had a pretty nasty black eye for like 3 months. But my C2 vertebrae fractured in 2 spots, which the surgeon said he's like never seen anything like this before, because it was right next to the spinal cord, and somehow managed to not touch the spinal cord, which he said is absolutely crazy, because if I would have been paralyzed from the mouth down, like no more eating, no more talking ever. So I just got super lucky. A friend of mine who was at coffee with me, he was already home, and a friend of his called him and said, "Oh, I'm just calling to check on you because there's been an accident where a cyclist was hit by your house." So he got dressed and went down to the gas station, and I didn't even know about this until like 2 months after the accident, but he was there and he saw my bike, so he knew it was me. And he said they were treating it like a fatality. They had the entire intersection taped off for like half the day. They had drones up. He even saw them giving the driver a sobriety test. And So they basically didn't think that there was any way for me to make it. But I did.
Mhm.
And one thing I think it's important to mention is the fact that you aren't a rookie on the highway on a bicycle. You know what you're doing. You ride safe. You follow the rules, and this still happened.
Yeah, I always said I was like one of the safest, if not the safest cyclist that I knew, because I always wrote it in the back of my head that this is very possible. So I was always looking out to actually be hit, because my first century ride, I saw a cyclist get hit and killed. 5 of my friends were killed like 3 years ago. We lost 5 of our community. A friend of mine was hit last year and put in a coma for 3 months, and it's just nonstop. So I was always super aware of the fact it could happen, and now that it has happened to me, like I know it can happen to anybody. I was just basically getting lucky every time I rode my bike up until that point.
And one of the things that I wanted to bring up was the fact that everybody I'd say 99% of the people who are watching this now are on the road. That cycle. So, it's like, it's really important to realize that if this can happen to you, and that it can really happen to everybody.
Yeah.
So, what can you say around that? And what are you doing differently now?
Well, like I said, if I were to, I tell everybody I don't have any PTSD from this particular incident. It's like I've dealt with it all before with other accidents in the past. But I don't remember anything. So if I were to get hit again, I would either not remember anything or maybe I'd pass away, but it wouldn't affect me anyway.
Hmm.
It really, like I saw what it did to my husband and my son though, and I swore to them, I said, I swear to you, you don't ever have to worry me about me putting you in that position ever again. So for me, like indoor riding is number 1 now. Like I'm not going to sell my gravel bike. So if I do need to get out, it'll be gravel, maybe not mountain. I hate mountain biking. And
And that's a shame, because it is a lot of fun.
it's so bumpy and rocky, and yeah, and I always crash every time I ride on the mountain bike or gravel. I do crash, which is fine because it's safer than crashing with cars. But
One of the things that we do want to talk about as well is the fact that you have recovered. That is really nothing short of miraculous. I mean,
And
looking
Bob,
at you, we would.
before we jump into recovery, can I jump in? Because
Oh, please.
this Terry is being so humble in how she's describing her injuries. And I mean, it was like you said, Terry, they were treating it like a fatality. And
Mhm.
it is amazing. And I'm like Bob, I'm really interested in the recovery part. But you even mentioned your family, and I know I've watched some of your videos as well. And you talked about how this isn't just about you. It was
Mhm.
about your family and friends too. And this Thanksgiving has to be pretty special.
Yeah, it's every day. Like even just yesterday, I went to Walmart for the first time, and I hate going to Walmart. Like I almost never go there, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to Walmart. So I went there, and I just remember thinking how amazing it is I get to go to Walmart.
Hmm.
Oh, talk about things you take for granted that you don't
Yeah,
anymore.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good feeling to always feel that way.
Hmm.
And one thing that John mentioned, that you brought up, and it's really important, is your husband, for one,
Hmm.
how really well he and your son, Vlad Jr.
Yeah.
took care of you. This is Thanksgiving, so
Hmm.
can you talk to that a little bit?
I am incredibly grateful for them. I couldn't have done it without them. It's My husband woke up Sunday morning and received a notification from Garmin that something had happened to me. There was an incident, so he tried calling my phone, which obviously I didn't answer. So he knew something happened, because usually if like a false alarm goes out, I at least call or answer my phone to let him know, no, don't worry about me. But he didn't. My friend Brian Carter, who was there, called everybody around town. So everyone knew about me. This accident was probably in an hour. So I think Lindsay, my friend Lindsay, called Vladimir, my husband, and told him you need to go to Sunrise Hospital. And so he said him and my son drove to the hospital. It was like the worst moment of their lives driving there, not knowing what they were gonna be told when they got there.
Mm.
And not something else is, you know, what John brought up, a C2 vertebrae break typically would leave you paralyzed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, I'm just amazed at how you're moving your head.
Everybody looks, even the doctors look at me like, what is wrong? Like, how is this possible? Because 9 out of 10 people don't even make it what I went through.
Right.
And the ones that do survive are
Yep.
like dealing with it for years. And I'm insanely lucky. I know how lucky I am. But
There's, you know, luck is, you know, there's so many different ways to describe luck. I've heard it described as where preparation meets opportunity, for one, and luck. My ex captain of my submarine said, luck is the constant companion of hard work, and so you actually put a lot of work into keeping your health up. That is helping with your recovery. So you talk to that a little bit, please.
Yeah, I took obviously everything I could do with the recovery process. I did, whether I knew it was working or not. My husband he had a clipboard with a list of things that they had to make sure to do every day. So my son made me a smoothie every day with all my goodies in it, because I'm plant-based, so I want to make sure I get all the nutrients right and everything. So on top of all the nutritious food I ate, my son made me a smoothie every day with everything in it. And I did exercise. I got on a stationary bike, not my bike, but like a sit-up stationary bike. And then they give me light weights that they let me do like a couple months in. After a couple months after the accident, I was allowed to do a little bit of light weights work, but
wow.
Well,
It's been less than 6 months. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, let's I'm interested in what it was like, how long you were in the hospital for before they even released you, and what was the state when you went home? What was your condition at that point? I'm just trying to get a sense of the baseline of starting your recovery.
okay, so everything was insanely fast for me, like way faster than any person like probably ever. I was in the hospital for 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they released me and let me go home. And I was home for probably about 3 days before I started remembering stuff. So like from that, like half a mile before the accident, through the accident, the entire time at the hospital, and the first 2 days at home, there's no memory.
Right.
My brain's like, there was pain there. We're not letting you know that. So like for me, it's like I basically took a big nap and woke up with a halo on, because I had to wear that halo for 3 months.
And for
so
people who don't know what a halo is, would you describe that and what the procedure was to put it on you?
Yeah, so yeah, they realigned my vertebrae somehow, and then the halo is like these 4 bars with this halo around that, basically halo shape, and they screw it into your head. So they had 2 bolts. They shaved behind my ears. So they had 2 spots where they shaved my ears, and then 2, like you can even see right here, I have a hole. So they had 2 bolts in my head too. So I have 4 bolts screwed in, and I basically, my head was suspended in air for 3 months basically. So I couldn't move it.
And so you're home, you can't be left alone.
No.
And now your husband is the primary caregiver. And obviously this turning everything upside down. At what point did you start to formulate a recovery plan? At what point did you start thinking, okay, here's what I'm going to do?
I think the first day I remembered
Mm,
anything, because the first 3 days I have no memory of, but
mhm,
I remember the first day I was looking at all the pills the doctors gave me that I was supposed to take every day. There were like 3 different medications and Tylenol. And I looked at them, I'm like, I don't need these.
no,
So I throw them away. So I threw away all the like I'm super anti-medication, unless I need it, but I didn't feel like I was like Tylenol's fine. So I was afraid like there's some like oxycodone or something in there, and I'm like, I don't need that in my life. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I started taking um a Tylenol, one or two Tylenols like every day, just to kind of help with the pain. And
Mhm.
within 2 weeks, I completely stopped doing that too.
Mm.
And then I would only take it on the days that we go to because they had to tighten the bolts in my skull every 2 weeks.
Oh.
And that was
Oh, my goodness.
good. Yeah. Yeah, that was weird. Because you could feel them tighten it. And I remember going to the doctor and I'm like, I know the bolts aren't touching my brain, but
Mhm.
it's touching something. Like I feel something in there moving. He's like, it's
Right, right.
nerves. So I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
But
I
yeah,
did not,
it's-
I didn't know they did that.
yeah.
What was the reason for that? Do you know?
It just micro adjustments when you move, you live your life, everything, it just comes loose and it gets more painful the looser it gets. So they make sure they tighten it every 2 weeks.
What was the hardest thing when you had that on? Or, what did you have to deal with?
I didn't like for instance, they had the 4 holes in the head that weren't supposed to heal up because you wanted to heal up after they took off the bolts. So my husband had to do a peroxide and saline solution every day and like wash it. So you take a Q-tip and wash the open wounds like
And they
you
did not want them to heal yet.
remember when you were little and you had to put peroxide in a cut and
Mhm.
how bad it hurt.
Mhm.
So that was an everyday thing. Like he had to wash it every
Jeez.
day, and it was just so painful.
Mm.
But my husband was going through so much and dealing with so much, and I knew it was hard for him to see me in that state. So I just like smiled every day during that time. And finally, the last day, I'm like, okay, I didn't say anything, but that was like painful, the
Mhm.
worst pain ever every day.
And it was, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
No, no, no. I'm just speechless at all this.
I
This is
know,
just
I know.
amazing. Yeah.
And it's like one of the things that comes to mind is the videos that you gave us updates with.
Mm.
You were smiling in all of them. It's
Yeah.
like,
I have a shirt that
how
says
you
it
did
is what
that?
it is.
I love it.
It is what it
It is.
is.
It is
Yeah.
what it
It
is.
is a thing. Well, you are actually, you have caused a whole lot of triathletes to not complain about anything.
That's
Yeah.
good.
If you know what I mean. It's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's kind of like, there's this one meme that says, I got nothing. It's like, compared to
Yeah.
what you just went through. It's
Mm.
like,
Well,
yeah,
well,
we're lucky.
let's dive into that because I know, Terry, at that stage, a lot of us were exchanging messages. Hey, any updates on can she feel her toes? Is she moving her fingers and things like that? I mean, because we all knew how horrific this was.
Yeah.
And but then you started to come out on this recovery, and your attitude was so incredibly positive. It
Hmm.
was, w- I don't know if that was a conscious choice where you said, I am just going to be positive, or if it just came naturally from your endurance training or what have you. But it was really amazing to see you attack recovery in a very positive manner.
Yeah. Um, it's funny because like one of my best friends in the world always he's going through a hard time like with some stuff and he's always like how can you do this? Like how like he sees the hard times that I go through and I'm always like, well, it is what it is. Like, can I change it? No, then it is what it is. I'll just deal with it.
Uh,
So you can choose to deal with it in negatively or positively, and that's just how I've always been. And
mhm.
I came home and the first thing I saw, like I'm home with my husband and son, and I'm wearing this halo. I look ridiculous, and it's so funny. So I would like dance just to lighten the mood because I looked ridiculous dancing with a halo on.
Yeah, you're the only person I have ever seen make one of those look good, you know?
Yeah,
So
it was awful. It was awful wearing it, but like I also felt super lucky that I got to wear it.
Yeah. Well, and
that's,
what I noticed again, watching different videos that you put out and hearing different stories, you did seem to celebrate even the small victories. You
Mhm.
know, I think of your pool and
Yeah.
how, you know, your pool, what you were working so hard to get that pool up and running. If people don't know the story, it's actually a fun story to watch.
Yeah.
You know, unearth this pool that's in her backyard and then build it out. But you really seem to just take pride in celebrating small victories as if this recovery process was just something you were going to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It was great because I remember, I think it was about, oh, when I first came home, my husband, I guess, would make me walk around the house, like from the backyard. We walked to the end of the house in the back.
Hmm.
And one day, like he made me do that walk. Like we walked to one end of the patio all the way to the other end. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Why is he making, like I was thinking, why is he making me do this walk? It's so stupid. And we talked about it later. And he's like, we used to do that and you couldn't make that walk. I'm like, oh, that's so funny. Like I don't remember that. I just
Small
remember the
victories.
one day where like all of a sudden it was like super easy and it was ridiculous that we were doing it.
Small victories, and for you to revel in them, that's John, that's a great point as far as especially for triathletes or any athlete.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
awesome. You were such a good role model and example.
Yeah, and I always used to say to my husband, I'm like, this is probably have good it happened to me and not someone else because like I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
Mm.
Well, and I think I'm gonna tie that back to your endurance events and how you're an elite athlete in that space. And you know, that's all about problem solving and trying to work through things. How much do you think, and this is what you're speaking to, how much do you think your endurance experience actually helped in the recovery process?
That's it's immeasurable.
Yeah,
Like I love doing the endurance training. It really challenges you. Can how far can you go? How what can you go through? What can
yeah.
you
Hmm.
survive? Mentality too. Like I
Hmm.
just did Unbound Gravel, just 100 miles in June,
Right.
but instead of 200. But we had like 4 miles of carrying our bike through the mud, and it took 2 hours to get through that section. And like most people like it wasn't even a bike race at that point. It's like, but I'm there doing that and it's so hard.
Yeah,
And I loved it at the
yeah,
end. I'm like, this is a cool story. Yeah.
I like that. It's a cool story.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good quote.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's always the best stories. I always tell my husband that too when we're going through a miserable time. I'm like, yeah, but we're gonna remember this.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about this a lot.
Yes, and I think this was one of those things. And, you know, I love the mantra that you have, it is what it is on your shirt. Were there other sort of mantras that you kept telling yourself as you were going through this recovery process? You know, a lot of times in a you know, marathon, or you did Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ironman Amsterdam. I mean, sometimes you just think one foot in front of the other. I mean, what type of phrase did you kept telling yourself?
Yeah, that was basically it's just one day after another, basically. I just gotta sit here and be patient. It'll come. Like we'll get to where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with endurance races, even no matter how hard it is. Like maybe today I'm not gonna like break any records, but I'll get it done if as long as I just keep moving forward. Like tomorrow it's gonna be a memory.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mhm.
what I always tell myself.
One of the things this has done for you is to get you really close to Ruby and working working inside and on a trainer. So can you talk a little bit about that? And actually you have an event coming up on Sunday. Can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, actually, Challenge Elmere last year, I was actually representing Ruby there, and I've been an ambassador for them a couple years. Because ever since COVID, I get super addicted to it. Started making YouTube videos about my addiction, so they reached out and asked me to be an ambassador, and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like I'm on you every day, like writing on Ruby.
Yeah.
So, they've been insanely supportive through this whole process. They've just been there for me, and I told them I'm gonna be the best ambassador when I'm back because I'm not riding outside anymore. Like just not in Vegas. At least there's no point in Vegas. So yeah, I'm gonna do my first group ride back on Sunday. Everybody's welcome to join me. I'll post the link. But I do have a 30-day all access free trial code for anybody who wants to try out Ruby. So
And this video will be posted on the Facebook page
Okay.
recorded so we can watch it. And if you would put that in the comments, then
Okay.
everybody would be able to see that.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, so it'd be Sunday at 8 a.m. I picked the route out at Valley of Fire because I like
Nice.
it would be like I'm riding here with my friends.
I love it. And you even said in your comments that if you don't have a smart bike, you can still follow the live stream as well,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna live stream it on YouTube and
Uh,
I actually have some people on Instagram that don't have smart trainers, but they have the stationary bikes and Pelotons, and I'm like, well, I can live stream it and you can pretend you're there.
Yeah, they're going to be right next to you. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
They're going to be riding right there. So many of us will.
Oh, great.
Terry, what's the 100,000 sign in the back on your wall?
Oh, that's my holding space for my 100,000 play button that I'll get from YouTube whenever I ever get there. It's funny because my husband's a big YouTuber, and so I just kind of do it for fun on the side. And haven't been posting much there this year, and I was actually editing a video for Unbound Gravel because that was an insane race, and I thought it'd be fun to share that one, but then the accident happened, so I never finished an edit. And then I got a notification from YouTube that I haven't posted in a while, so they were going to demonetize me if I didn't post within 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm demonetized, but
No,
it's still fun.
Did they know why you hadn't?
No, they don't know
Did
why.
you tell them?
No, I didn't even bother. I only made like $100 every 3 months anyway. It's nothing
Okay.
big deal. It's just another goal that I have now.
Yeah. Well,
But just so, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I imagine that through this whole process that you've created a whole nother connection to another community of people who have survived crashes like this. And is that coming through YouTube or through Instagram? I mean, how are people finding you? And
Mostly YouTube.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, my videos, people are insanely supportive there. My husband actually did an update video on his channel. Well, because he just completely stopped posting stuff. So he did an update video when we realized I was going to be okay, but I was still like really hurt. That one had like 1.7 million views. So every time, even still today, every time he posts a video, people are like, how's your wife? It's like one of the top comments, how's your wife? I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to do an update on your channel soon too.
And is it correct to say that people can search on YouTube for I'm Terry B?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Move your head a little bit to your left. There you go.
Terry B.
I'm Terry B.
I put the link in the comments already. So, Terry, talk us about the future. What's coming up?
Well, I just started running a few days ago. I can do a mile in 11:30 pace. So like we did that today. We cut a whole minute off our pace from yesterday. Yeah. So I have my son doing it with me. He's 15 and he's not a runner.
No.
But now I'm like, now I know what he feels like when he's starting to run. So now we can run together at the same pace, and it's great. So I'm enjoying the process with them, and then I'm gonna do Ruby, like ride my bike. Plus, I also just installed an endless pool fast lane into my pool, so now I can.
Oh, I didn't know that was in your pool.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so that was part of the whole pool process that I started last spring. And what's crazy is I finally filled up the pool with water in the week of the accident, and they put all the chemicals in and said you have to wait a week to swim. And I'm like, okay, and then the accident. So I never got to swim.
Until recently. Until just.
Yeah, well, yeah, I went in the other day, it was 54 degrees.
Ouch. You gotta put a heater on that thing.
Swim. But it was cool to jump in and just test it out.
Oh, I love it. And we're almost out of our time tonight, but I want to just hit a couple more points. I'm hoping you talk a little bit about advice for cyclists that still ride outdoors. And I think, the Garmin notification to your husband, something like that. I mean, what advice do you give to people at this point?
I really try not to give advice because there's people that are like, you only live one life and you want to ride outside. And I get that. I have a husband and son that they're more important than me riding
Mhm.
outside. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that that's important, but then also like for anybody who desperately needs to ride outside and worried about their safety, the Union Pacific Railroad Trail,
Love
the
that trail.
mountain trail is great. I heard the 215 trail is really good now out on by Summerlin. It goes up to the north part. I haven't been there, so I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
just try to stick to the trails because people just don't pay attention when they drive. I mean, since my accident, three more people from our community just in
Yeah.
Las Vegas have been hit, and
Mm-hmm.
one didn't make it. So
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And if
it's
I may tag onto your question, John, um, do you have any advice or any comments for drivers?
yeah, yeah, you can tell like people just drive like it's no big deal. They don't understand that it's basically they're driving a 4,000 pound vehicle. Like if you hit someone, you're gonna kill them. If you're not paying attention, you're just getting lucky if you don't hit someone. Um, Everybody eventually goes through something where it kind of awakens them a little bit, but there's just too many people out there. I don't know. I don't really have advice for drivers. Just pay attention
Pay attention and just stay off the
and
phones. Stay off the
understand that
phones when you're driving.
anything could happen. A child could run out in front of you, a dog
Yeah.
could run out in front of you, like someone could blow a tire in front of you and get like
Mm-hmm.
like everything could happen.
Well, we're all cyclists and we're all drivers. And
Mhm.
I think this is a great message for all of us is even when we're driving, is we need to be watching out for each other. And it's not easy.
Yeah. And
Mm,
listen to a good podcast. Like I would say, you should have some good podcast or audiobook in the car. That way, like you want to know what's going to happen, so you're okay to go take your
right.
time places. Everybody's in a hurry to get wherever they're going, and I'm not gonna lie, every single person that I rode with, like everyone. So I'm not singling out any of my cool friends that were giving me rides. They
Mhm.
all like hit the gas whenever the yellow popped up.
Yeah.
None of them would stop for yellow.
Mhm. Don't be in
And
a
yeah.
hurry. Yeah.
I'm like
So,
crazy. Like, you know how serious this is. Like,
uh,
take your time getting where you're
That's when
going.
it happens.
uh, well, I'm gonna then a bit on a positive note. I have just been so impressed with the strength that you've shown in this recovery process and your positive attitude. And I'm just wondering, I sort of asked it earlier too, but is this a quality that you knew was in you, or was it something that is really you take a step back now and you said, "Wow, I didn't realize I had that much strength in me to get through this recovery."
No, that's kind of like it's not me being like conceited or anything. I just always
Right.
I have that head on my shoulders where like it is what it is. Like I'll just get through each step as I need to with anything in life. Honestly, the first accident I saw when I saw that cyclist killed at Tour de Palm Springs 5 years ago, that's kind of when it opened my eyes that I can handle myself in bad situations because I wasn't there screaming, I wasn't there crying, I was like trying to
Mm-hmm.
Deal
help
with it.
out and
You were dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I had to go there and testify. In May, I was there to testify for that.
Mm.
So right before my accident.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so I'm like, I got all the warnings I needed.
Well, we're so glad you're doing so well. We know that the road to recovery is still happening, and the community has been behind you. They've all been, knowing, trying to find out what's been going on. And so this is great that you've shared your story here as well as on your YouTube channel and Instagram. And I like that you're willing to share because it really does help people understand what you've been through, and it really is amazing. Your positive attitude is infectious, and really just a strong person. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
This was very valuable for cyclists and drivers to see and very inspirational to see how well you've recovered and how you
Mhm.
dealt with it. So thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Terry. And we'll post the links we already have to your YouTube channel and to the Ruby. And let's see if we can get some people to join you on the Ruby ride.
Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll see you Sunday morning.
And you're doing the turkey trot
Yeah.
lifetime tomorrow. So I just registered today, so I'm gonna come over and say hi. So that'll be great.
All right. And I have a 50% off code for that too, if anybody wants to come out and do it.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Hey, thanks everyone, and thank you, Terry.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry. Good night.
Good night.